Welcome to Home Business TV. Greetings and welcome to the Home Business Podcast. Artificial intelligence, AI, is transforming everything in our world, and that includes the world of home-based business. An upside to this upheaval is that AI is opening up huge opportunities for home-based entrepreneurs who recognize the challenge. Simply put, today's guest, Colin C. Campbell, believes AI will create a new generation of millionaires. Colin Campbell, how is your AI day going today?
Well, it's going pretty good. I have to admit, last night I was up till 2 in the morning working on ChatGPT, custom GPTs, and I just can't stop. I'm addicted to it. Let me just tell you that because the opportunity is absolutely huge.
Is it the new social media addiction?
It's sort of like that, because when you're at the very beginning of a new technology, a new paradigm shift, there is huge opportunity. And let me be clear, if you move quickly, your business can benefit from it.
Well, Colin Campbell describes himself as a serial entrepreneur and is author of the award-winning book, Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat, Serial Entrepreneurs' Secrets Revealed. He also leads the Startup Club, where he shares his experiences with almost 1 million members. Colin Campbell, tell us a little bit more of yourself, about yourself. How did you stumble into the world of AI, or did AI find you?
Well, that's interesting because, and I talk about this in chapter 3 of the book, I've spent 30 years as a serial tech entrepreneur catching waves. And, 18 months ago, when we saw GPT 3.5 come out into the market, I began to see this was probably the biggest paradigm shift or tech wave that I've seen in my lifetime. That this technology will mint more millionaires than any other technology shift in history. So obviously I grabbed onto it really quickly. And then as the technology's been evolving, it's been evolving so fast. Every time I turn over a rock, there's more gold under that rock. And you just have to know where to look and position yourself as someone who understands AI and uses that in their business. And I'm telling you this, for home-based businesses, this technology is going to help solopreneurs and home-based businesses more than it's going to help big corporations.
So you really kind of look at this as an actual, I hate that word paradigm shift, but it's a paradigm shift, particularly for smaller businesses and home-based businesses.
Yep. Tony Stark, the movie Iron Man, when he straps on that Iron Man suit,
Mhm.
you can accomplish so much more as a solopreneur. Entrepreneurs, we're all jack of trades. You've heard of that saying, but master of none. Well, that's not the case anymore. We're all masters of every trade. We can know a little bit about law and almost become a lawyer. We can know a little bit about tax accounting and almost become a tax expert.
By
We can know a
leveraging
little bit about
AI.
marketing by leveraging AI. It's an extension of yourself. You're only limited to your imagination.
Well, before we launch into the podcast, can you show us a copy of your book?
Here it is. Here, start, scale, exit, repeat. Hit #1 on 13 categories on Amazon and has already won 3 awards from 3 different awards groups.
Looks like the right book for the right time. Let's kind of get into AI and introduction to AI and startups. How has the advent of, in particular, ChatGPT 3.5 impacted startups over the last year and a half?
Yeah, it's had a tremendous effect. And we're beginning to see that there are many, many ways that entrepreneurs can use AI. I mentioned earlier, there's legal ways, like you can use it to help with legal interpretation of contracts, or you can help it with your marketing. It really becomes an extension of you. It also is a way of helping, let me just say this, sort of lesser talented individuals that could be offshore.
That describes me.
Uh, Lesser talented, yourself included, and all of a sudden, with a little bit of knowledge, you can now be an expert in your field. It can really elevate the talent level and ultimately reduce the costs, or actually allow your current staff, even if it's just yourself, to accomplish so much more. I would say we're at a point of probably about 3xing since GPT 3.5, that was the paradigm shift. That was the technology shift. But what we're now seeing is other sub shifts that are beginning to occur, and we're going to talk about that later.
Well, let's just hit a few of the points where AI can help. Traditional points in a startup, say business planning. It all starts with a plan. How can AI help you to create a business plan?
Okay, I talk about this a lot in my book as well. The first thing when you're developing a business plan is don't use AI. In the book, we have something called the 4 sticky note business plan because you can never outsource the entrepreneur. There's a lot of creativity involved. And you first want to lay out a very basic strategy, a concept, and we do that very well in the book. It takes about half an hour to do that. And then once you've completed that, then we want to feed that into the AI and we want to build our investor plan. It can do wonderful investor plans. It can come up with your SWOT analysis with a little bit of information. It can come up with your risk factors. It can help you with budgeting. Absolutely use AI. But remember, AI is not a replacement for the entrepreneur, not that mind, the artistic mind of an entrepreneur.
So
AI,
I'm getting to understand a little bit more. So the plan is actually where you put all the elements together, where AI can help you gather those elements and create those elements, but you still need the entrepreneur's mentality to put the final plan together.
yeah, and I've used it as an AI coach as well. So if you really are stuck on your idea, so I was meeting up with Joe Foster. Joe Foster is the founder of Reebok, and I met him a couple of weeks ago. And so I was on with Pi.ai. Pi.ai is another AI. I like her because she's a little bit more conversational, and it doesn't cost anything. It's free to download the app. And I was talking about my CrossFit, and I'm over the age of 50, and no one's built a CrossFit running shoe for over the age of 50. So she and I started talking about it, and she came up with a really cool name, CrossFit Prime. And I thought that was neat. And so I shared that with Joe Foster. He had a good laugh. And he's, by the way, 89 years old now and fascinating individual.
I like that prime. Let's take a look at like another part of starting up a business, lead generation and getting leads. Where can AI help you with, I guess in particular, the communications you need for lead
Yeah,
generation?
that's an area where it can really make a difference in your startup or your business. We did this on Startup Club. I was doing a live show, and I went on ChatGPT and I asked it to write a letter as to why somebody should join Startup Club, and the results were phenomenal. I could not believe it. I mean, I'm not. Again, I am not a marketing executive, but the stuff that AI can produce can be at that level. And in fact, we did have a show, another show where we had a marketing executive on, and we asked her to come up with the motto for Startup Club. And she came up with a pretty good one, a community coming. I don't actually
So
remember.
she's the pro and comes up with a pretty good
She's the
one.
pro, and she's coming. Then I asked ChatGPT to come up with 5 alternatives, and then one of them was fuel your startup journey. And I'm like, that's it. And it's just like I'm not saying there isn't a place in this world for these marketing executives, for these lawyers, for these accountants, for so many different individuals. There is a place, but when you're a solo entrepreneur, when you're a home-based business, you can't afford the $1 million budget or millions of dollar budget that some of these
Yeah, you
companies
kind of
have.
get in your cubby hole, and you think you don't have access to the expertise that you need,
That's right.
and it can give you the opportunity. Well, so like after you've generated um, some leads and you've got customers to manage, how can AI help then with customer service and managing your customers?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. At paw.com, we run a company here in the incubator. It's called paw.com. We have 6 full-time staff overseas. And they're pretty good at English, but they make the mistakes here and there. And so the AI has a way of fixing the correspondence between them and the customers. But what's interesting is we were able to add a filter on it to make the responses more positive. See, by making it more positive, we institutionalize the concept within the organization. And that has made a huge difference on customer satisfaction. Now, we've also used it to develop FAQs.
I just want to pull that up. You said making it more positive. Um,
Yeah. So, like in the book, I talk about this concept of power talking. And it's
okay.
like replacing words with, like, for instance, you'll say, "Oh, I have to." Instead, you'll replace that with, I'd be happy to, or I'd be glad to. So there's a lot agents make when they're communicating with customers. And if you train them, and of course you do your best to train them, right, to be positive, to change their language, but AI can be that filter to ensure that there is positive communication with your customers. And then you can develop your FAQs. And also, we reduced calls by 30% by setting up a chat bot and having the chat bot answer the questions as well.
So you think AI has gotten advanced enough where it can hold conversations like chat conversations online? Because that would be a big help for home-based entrepreneurs to be able to have effective chat. And first it was kind of trying to outsource the chat, and that never worked out. But you're saying you can make that work through AI. Now, does that just then require? I'm trying to look at this from the standpoint of the home-based entrepreneur. So would they need to work with it initially to develop some basic scripts for customer
So there, I
service?
mean, there's different ways of doing this. You can actually do it directly with a custom GPT, but there's a lot of services out there. We use Zendesk, for instance, and that helps reduce reduce the calls coming in because it sets up a chat bot that works 24 hours a day, and then you make it better and better and better. See, this is the thing about all of these technologies is you can get them out there, and then you can iterate. You can make it better, make it better,
Right.
make it better, and you just have to get it out there.
That's such an important point you just brought up is that iterative. I think I mispronounced it, but you know what I mean. As far as you got to take a step forward, you've got to move in a certain direction to get some feedback, that feedback loop then on how you can improve it. And so like that's tailor made for AI.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a game changer, right? And what's neat is, it's not like you come out with a product and you have to wait 6 months later, or you come out with a book and then, 2 years, 3 years
Right.
later, you do your revision. No, you can. I've been working on a project and I've been doing the revisions every 10, 15 minutes or 20 minutes when I get feedback from
Wow.
a customer.
So kind of seeing the big picture here, it's going to help you generate more revenue, but at the same time, it's making your operations, the things you have to do, easier to do, and so it's um, a good combination. um, you mentioned something about legal and contracts. I just want to hit that again. Is there any other points in particular for startups that you think this is helpful?
Yeah, well, I'm not a lawyer, and please get legal
All
advice
right,
on
yeah.
any of this, okay? I will always caveat with that. Now, I run many companies here in the incubator. I don't run them personally. I work with CEOs who run them. But, we've used it to write contracts. We've used it to interpret contracts. We've used it to create board motions. Um, we've used it in many different ways. What I like about taking one of your contracts, you have a question, take the contract, cut and paste it, put it in a chat GPT, and then ask it questions. Just keep asking it questions, keep going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And in one particular case, we did it. We still didn't believe it. So we went to the law firm. We asked them to do a review of the contract. Here were our questions. They did the review, came back, and they were identical. Now, I'm not saying to rely this 100% on this, but if you have some contracts um, that may not be crucial to your business,
That's like maybe more boilerplate or
more
something.
boilerplate stuff, that kind of stuff. You want to write your trademark application. Yeah, you might still have to use a trademark lawyer, but you can play around with that in advance, sort of try to understand it so that when you do talk to the lawyer, you're going to reduce your legal costs.
So I'm trying to
We
get some of the mechanics here. So I think one of the competencies to have, you use AI to get started and to maybe build the foundation. And then you would take that, that draft you've come up with and take that to your lawyer to review and finalize. You don't ever want the AI to be the actual lawyer, but you get your 90% solution.
Yeah, and not it's a little bit gray here because not every time, unfortunately, a lot of small businesses don't have the budget, right? So you can't
Yeah.
always go to a lawyer and ask them the questions. But now
Mhm.
you have another resource. you could use for research.
Oh yeah, you can get some good research out of it, and then kind of whittle it down to what do you have to talk to the lawyer about
Correct. Yeah.
after you've gone through the AI route. One thing I'd like to hit is content creation, and I stress that everybody now is a content creator, regardless of what business you think you're in. How can AI assist you in writing blogs and other professional communications?
Yeah. Cut our content staff at paw.com, and we asked all the employees to start contributing articles. And let me start by saying this. If it smells like AI, it's probably AI, and that is a turnoff for your readers. So we're going to want to try to personalize the article. We're going to want to make it real. We don't want it to be corporate speak. We're edutating people. We're not writing a corporate proposal here, right? I mean, if you want to write a corporate proposal, it's great as well. So we're going to want to train the engine a little bit. Sometimes I use the term, write the article in the style of the New York Times. Um, Lately, what I've been doing though is you can create a custom GPT, and this is going to sound complicated, but trust me, if you can use a word processor like Microsoft Word, this is probably easier to do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but you can create a custom GPT. If you have a paid account on OpenAI, you click custom GPT, explore GPTs, create, and you can create a personal GPT. So what I did is I uploaded all my writing to the GPT. And now when I ask it to produce anything, it uses my style of writing. Okay. The
So
next
just
thing I
out of
will,
curiosity,
yeah,
when you publish something or produce something that way, does it come up as AI so much as when you do an AI check, or do you
look,
still need
you
to
can't,
personalize it?
there's nothing that says this is AI, right?
Yeah.
But, if you look at the reviews of my book, it drives me nuts, by the way. When people do reviews of my book and it's like, oh, that's AI. That's AI. They just use
Oh,
AI. I get like a three word thing. Oh, this book was cool. That's not AI, right? So it's a turn off, and it will be a turn off for your customers as well. So what we're going to want to do is emulate our writing style first and then make it personal. I did an article on paw.com for this new product that we came out with, a shopping cart tote, pup tote, and nobody else in the world has it. And I talked about how 5 years ago I presented this to the board and I was laughed at. And 5 years later, we launched it. And I have pictures of my real dog. I use my real dog's name. Okay, I took probably about 5 minutes to write the article. I had to do all the correct structure and everything like that. It would have taken me 2, 3 hours to put this article together. Now, I will caveat, if you're writing for Forbes, which I do, or other magazines, um, don't use any AI at all. At this stage, you can use it for research,
oh,
but there is a lot of heuristics on the internet that can affect your SEO. But if we're talking about a small based business like the one my wife owns, which is a school in Fort Lauderdale, she hadn't updated her blogs since 2021, and I wrote her 10 articles in 8 minutes, and she read them through, and she said, "Wow,
wow.
these are really good." Now, of course, she can personalize those articles as well and make them a little personal.
So I'm trying to get back to the mechanics of it. You would use this to help you get a draft out or get some content out, but then you want to personalize it before you go live.
So I sort of write the article really roughly, like just da, 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 and then I say,
Okay.
using my writing style, because it's going to use my trained chatbot or chat custom GPT. Using my custom GPT, it's going to rewrite it with my style, and then you've got the personalized elements to it, and then you're going to edit it. And you say,
Okay.
I don't like that word. I don't like these big words, or you might ask it to, cut out the big words. You want to level. Let's make it for grade level 4 or whatever.
Um, Another thing I just want to hit on really quick before we talk a little more about the future of AI is like, everybody needs a coach. And how can AI help you be a coach, say, for coaching stuff like setting goals or putting together measures of performance for your specific business?
Yeah, it's funny because in the book, the very first chapter, I talk about this concept of vetting your idea. Vet it with everybody you know. Well, you know what? Why not ask Pi.ai or ChatGPT or Perplexity or Claude? Why not bring them in on the conversation and see if they have a different perspective? They might be able to tell you how much market is available, or you should, in this particular region, You could focus on this particular application. So it does help you open your mind up, and it could be a way of vetting your ideas as well. Like I talked about earlier with CrossFit Prime and Joe Foster from Reebok.
Good, a lot of potential there. Well, let's get kind of more kind of end more on the meat and potatoes with the future of AI and startups. Overall, why is it important for startups to embrace AI to stay competitive over the long term?
Well, let's be very clear. If you don't embrace it, you're going to be left behind. You will be left behind. And I'm going to say this too. We're going to see the first home-based unicorn within the next 12 months. It's going to happen. You can use AI to help you accelerate your business, reduce costs, and achieve more than you can imagine that you've ever been able to achieve. If you want to write a movie script, you may have not known how to do it technically, but you can do that now if you really want to do it. But it does require your imagination. It does require you being that entrepreneur.
Um, like in the over the future, moving into the future, what are some of the tools we should look at, or home-based entrepreneurs should think about getting more familiar with?
Some of the tools right now, like I use Perplexity. I think that's a really good one. If you want, I asked it to write a press release for the book, and it actually went into the Amazon reviews, pulled the most recent Amazon reviews, pulled the best ones together, and it wrote a phenomenal press release. Perplexity is also good for research, and it quotes sources, so you can go back to the sources. I use Pi.ai for ideation and just chatting, and you're a little bit bored, you have someone to talk to. I use Claude for larger files. Although Open API has been, catching up. For image generation, I do like DALL-E, but Midjourney can be a little bit more realistic. And if you really want to go out there and create an avatar of yourself with full video, like we could literally replace you. Sorry, Richard.
That's what I need to
With
do.
exactly with Hey Jen, and it will take your look and feel. It'll look at you, and you can literally do things with text, and you don't have to necessarily get on video anymore. Although I don't think it's there 100%.
Right.
Again, people smell AI, and when they smell it, it
Yeah.
could bring down the listeners. But I'll tell
Well,
you, I'm very excited about what's happened in the last
I'm
few
trying to
weeks.
take this down like the third grade level. So there's different AI tools you should use. And so you shouldn't look at this as like one tool you use, but there's a whole toolbox here. And you need to get familiar with what AI tool is a good fit for a certain area of your business. Is that safe? Is that safe to say, or how you
I
would
think
describe it?
it's safe to say there's an AI for that, and there's a custom GPT for that. So we're gonna, if custom GPT, this is a very new thing that's come out, but you may have a problem in your business. Someone's likely already solved it and created a custom GPT. And you can go to OpenAI, you go to your chat OpenAI, chat.openai, and you can click on explore GPTs, and you can type in anything. There's a search box right there. You want to do figure out domain name, or for example, in the last couple days, I've been working on a project for Startup Club uh, called companyvaluesai.com, and it creates 4 to 6 statements, value statements based on 10 questions that we've curated. And literally, all I did was click on Explore GPT, create on the right hand corner, and I started entering in information. I uploaded the chapter for my book on core values. So I'm using data already. And by the way, if you don't have data, don't be afraid.
Right.
You can go to ChatGPT and say, okay, what are the things that businesses need to consider when they're looking at their core values? In any case, I uploaded the chapter in the book. We curated the questions. I pressed go live and on the ChatGPT store. Now, if anybody goes to custom GPT and they want to create 4 to 6 value statements, they can do it from the store. But then I did one better. I went and registered a domain name because I now want to brand that. See,
Right.
this is brand new. This just came out like 2 weeks ago. OpenAI opened up the ability for individuals, anyone in the world, without paying for their service, can simply click on a URL, or you can point them from your site, click on that URL, or type in a domain name, and it'll come up with your custom GPT.
So dialing this back down to the second and third grade level, you have to start looking at AI as something you actually start searching for something, an AI tool that's customized to what you're trying to do. Is
Yeah,
that safe to say? Kind of a custom tool?
it is custom. And let me tell you this, if you have expertise, you really need to consider getting onto ChatGPT, creating your custom GPT, because this is a very new marketplace. And in very new marketplaces, you can establish yourself as a leader. I'm trying to establish myself as a leader for the term company values. And then I went one step further and got the domain name. And now I'll promote that to my community on Startup Club. And then we're going to come out with 10 or 20 other free services to help startups. And what's cool is at the end of it, you can have a call to action. My call to action at the end of that is, hey, go to Amazon and buy the book if you liked this methodology of creating 4 to 6 value statements. Now, let me be clear here, Richard. I don't even know how to make a Google Doc. I'm serious. You ask me to make a Google Doc. I know how to register
I
a
deal
domain
with
name.
them all day and I have no idea how to put one together.
So you're in my boat. I have no idea. We are talking about unleashing the creativity in this world to so many people who are, and that's pretty much 95% of the population. You
Right.
just have to choose to do it. You just have to go in there. You have to try it out. And I'm telling you, this marketplace is new.
I'm getting
Even the
nervous talking to you.
even
I feel like the ground is shifting underneath me or
oh,
something right now.
you're not going to believe this. I mean, even the concept of branding a chat GPT is, I mean, no one's doing it yet. I I went to the Chat GPT, Explore Chat GPT. The number one was image generator. So I said, hey, that's interesting. So I went to GoDaddy and I typed in imagegeneratorAI.com and it was available. Unbelievable. Like we have an opportunity. We're so early on to establish that leadership. And by the way, it's all review based and traffic based,
So it's almost kind of like
right?
the early days of the internet where you could have gone in and trademarked Coca-Cola, nobody knew what was going. Then everybody gets on board and it's too late.
Yeah, you know how hard it is to get to the king of the hill on
Right.
Amazon, to be the lead product, to get the most reviews? It's very hard. But when you jump on in a very new industry, a very new marketplace, which pretty much this is what it is. When you're at the very beginning, take your
Right.
expertise, turn that into a custom GPT, which is an application. I mean, literally, if you type in company value, companyvaluesai.com, that's it. You can literally answer 10 questions. It'll generate 4 to 6 value statements. It'll compare your values with 3 other companies in the world and tell you what those companies are.
I mean, it's
And it's
doing things
absolutely free.
you couldn't possibly do on your own if you sat down for a week and tried to figure that out.
I think it used to take me long. We did some of these projects and I had 2 programmers on our staff and it was like whatever. This took me 2, 3 hours to put together with somebody who has no knowledge at all.
Wow.
At all.
Well,
That's
let's
it.
hitting that technical side just a little bit. Quickly, do you recommend are there any kind of programming skills or technical skills that home-based entrepreneurs should start thinking about now to be proficient at this in the future?
So it's different, right? It's not about coding. It's not about style. It's all about prompt engineering, right? And you get better at it the more that you do it. So the more that you're specific with the AI, the better the outcome. And so it's not whether or not, it's 10 go to 20, 20 go to 10 programming code. It's not like that at all. It's simply describing what you want. And don't be ambiguous because, when you're ambiguous, it's going to produce
You
ambiguous
got to
stuff.
narrow the search parameters. You can't
Yeah.
be too broad.
Like when I companyvaluesai.com, what I did is I created the 10 questions in advance. And I used a little bit of AI and I used stuff from the book. And then I put those questions in. I did those, what would some questions be? And I really didn't like the answers. So you can go in, you can edit it. You could use G, OpenAI's platform to create the content, to lay out the questions, but then just go in and edit them. And then you want to make certain you're very specific in the way you communicate with it, right? So what I said is at the end of every results, I want you to, first of all, share 3 other companies. And then I said, um, please state that this was based on the book Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat. And that if you want to learn more, you can buy it on Amazon. And
Okay.
there's a link to buy on Amazon. So what you're doing is you're giving phenomenal content. I mean, this could possibly be the best company values um, uh, engine on the internet today. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there are probably other ones you can pay for or whatever, but this is free. It creates these very cool value statements,
Mm-hmm.
and you have a call to action. And everybody has expertise you could monetize. I mean, your business, your podcast, your website, and I'm thinking you can begin to build tools and really help your users out and really help them with their solo business.
So that's the
I'm
kind of thing
telling
I
you,
should be looking at. Like
yeah.
everybody's got their niche. So I should be looking at, how do I provide AI tools for people that would be visiting that would be consuming the content, the subject categories of my website.
And then your call to action is to go to your website and sign up to your mailing list and build a
Okay.
community. And because you're starting at the very beginning, Richard, you can establish yourself as a leader. There are some custom GPTs that have had millions of uses already,
Hmm.
right? Like I have no doubt this one here, company values AI.com, will have 100,000 uses by the end of the month.
I'm never going to get to sleep tonight thinking about this opportunity, this opportunity that's
That's what
flowing underneath my
last
feet.
night. That's why I was up till 3 o'clock. I mean,
Oh
when
man.
you're at the very beginning of a new paradigm shift, you can get a huge
Wow.
reward.
I thought you were just up because of the time zone change coming back from Hawaii, but
That did help. That did help.
well, anything else for growth? Um, how AI can any other points you want to hit on how AI can help with growth in a business?
It's really just go play with it. Don't be afraid of it. I would recommend purchase any AI you can, Microsoft Copilot, of Perplexity, OpenAI's $20. They're but generally about 20, they're all $20 a month. A little bit of money is well worth experimenting, playing around with, building, learning. Spend 4 hours a week, period, reading books, going to sites like yours, listening to podcasts like this one. It is a whole new world. And if you learn it, you're going to benefit from it. And I get such a kick out of it, I have to say. It's like a drug, registering the
But
domain
you said
name.
it's fun. It's kind of like the way social media can be, where you start fiddling with it and you can't put it down.
It's fun because as an entrepreneur, you have an idea and then you go to back to the team and they're like, okay, well, we got to hire 2 coders. We'll do this. No, you just do it. And for home-based, a lot of solopreneurs, you could just build your own custom GPTs. That's absolutely incredible. I'm telling you, this
Well,
paradigm shift, the AI paradigm shift, and now the custom GPT tech shift will mint more millionaires than any other shift in history.
and a point I'm just thinking about this as we're talking. Don't have really enough time to go into this, but home base used to just be home based by yourself, but now it's all about leveraging and working with other people and
Correct.
building ventures together. The virtual corporation, as it was originally called. So it sounds like AI can help that process too, to you know, get home based, dispersed group of home based entrepreneurs working together on some kind of business venture that AI will help facilitate that.
Absolutely. That's it.
Um, we don't really have enough time, a lot of time to go into this, but is there any particular businesses or opportunities you think that will lend themselves to AI coming up in the short term?
You know, there are there's so many opportunities, but I can't emphasize more. Focus on your expertise and leverage that expertise in the AI world. Yeah, you can use it to cut costs, help with legals, do all those things. Absolutely. But how do you become an expert in your industry and use that expertise to generate business, to do top of the funnel marketing essentially for your business? and then channel customers into your business. I think that is the biggest opportunity. If you really want to build your own AI company, I've invested in a number of AI companies. Chapter 3 of my book, it's called Catching the Next Wave, and I talk about AI in that chapter. And I interviewed Jeffrey Moore, who wrote Crossing the Chasm and Inside the Tornado. And he says there's three things. One of them was his. Jeffrey Moore talks a lot about whoever delivers the fastest in a tornado wins. Think about that. Whoever delivers the fastest in the tornado wins. Think of AOL when they used to blanket the CDs in the 90s and they
Right.
destroyed CompuServe, right? The second one I emphasize is focus like a laser beam. And then Jeffrey Moore calls it more like the bowling pin strategy to get out of the chasm. But you've got to be the best in the world at one particular thing. Because the early majority, the pragmatists, they're going to want to grab onto that. And the third, which I think is critical and has worked for me for all of my tech companies, is make it easy. When you're building even a custom GPT, think about making it easy. When I first did I first did a version of my custom GPT 2 days ago, it just literally put out 10 questions. They said, no, 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 do one question at a time. And it did one question at a time. Oh, I didn't like the order of the question. Okay, we want to ask what their name of their company is first. Make it easy. Those three things can help you win in a tornado.
So dialing it back again for the person that maybe just starting to think about AI now and has a business, you don't have to look at going out and starting up a new business or finding something else. It's using AI to make you more competitive in the business that you're in. The opportunities are there for everyone. Is it safe to say that?
I actually I would say it's both. If you're in a business, leverage it. If you're not in a business or you have an idea, how can you AI help you take that idea to the marketplace? And that's the key. And an AI can help you. And there's a lot of businesses. If you come up with the right model for a custom GPTs, we're at a point now that could be like apps were in
Right.
2010.
That's
It's
what
a
I was
brand new
thinking about
market,
while we
right?
were
So
talking. It's kind of like the app world where it just took off, and AI is going to bleed into that.
that's correct. That's correct. And so there are opportunities around that. So just start by just jumping into it. Create a custom GPT. You can do a personal one. You can do one that has just a private link, and then you can do one that you posted on the ChatGPT store. And I don't know how long they're going to do it for free,
Right.
ChatGPT, but right now it's free. Anyone can access your custom GPT, and this is it. Like this was just opened up for anyone to access the early part of May of
Sounds like
this
it's
year.
probably not going to last too long free. No, nothing ever good lasts long free. But this kind of leads into my getting towards the end of the podcast. What's one thing a podcast listener should do tomorrow morning? The first thing to get to use artificial intelligence to build their own multi-million-dollar business. What's a good
I
first thing to do?
think I pretty much hit it. Go pay the $20. Go build a custom GPT. That's it. And learn with it, play with it, do it. You don't need an instruction manual. You don't need a programmer. You don't need to connect APIs. You can just do it. If you can type, you can do it. And by the way, even if you can't type, you can use voice now. So it's okay. Just
Yeah,
jump into it.
typing is no longer a limitation. Well, Colin Campbell, we've reached the end of our AI journey today on the Home Business Podcast. Are there any other points you'd like to share?
Well, let me tell you this. This book was a 10-year project. Started after I spoke at MIT to a group of entrepreneurs. 10 years. It was based on my 30-year career and over 200 people who were interviewed. We interviewed experts, authors, and serial entrepreneurs. It's been number one on 13 categories on Amazon, and it's won 3 awards, a gold, a bronze, and a silver from 3 different award ceremonies. It's done extremely well. So if you get a chance, you can get this in Audible, or you can get this on ebook. But I love the physical book. I love the
There's something about a
colors
physical book. I don't know.
and the colors and the illustrations. And we wrote this one for the ADHD entrepreneur. It has 78 chapters, 200 callouts, and 30 illustrations.
Wait, did I
It's
hear that
all
right?
color-coded.
Did I say 78?
78 chapters. They're very short and digestible chapters. And the one we were talking about today, chapter 3, is catching the next tech wave, and core values, chapter on core values. And there's a chapter on, and by the way, I'm going to do this. You should do this with your business as well. Is I'm taking each chapter and I'm trying to create a custom GPT. So it's more than just read it. It's also go and do it. Go and actually create it. And that's how easy it is.
Yeah, as the old saying goes, you can read about something and look at it, but until you actually do it, that's how you learn it. We can't recommend the book enough. Well, Colin Campbell, thanks for joining me today on the Home Business Podcast.
Thank you for having me on.
Thanks. To learn more about Colin Campbell and his book, Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat, please visit colincampbell.com or amazon.com or our podcast website for more information on guests. Thanks for joining us today on this episode of the Home Business Podcast. Share your feedback with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and at our website, homebusinessmag.com. Subscribe to the newsletter. Read the Home-Based Business Startup Guide. For more information, visit homebusinessmag.com or the homebusinessexpo.com. I'm Richard Kevnerson saying anchors away. We'll talk with you soon. Until then, make it a great home-based AI day. Thank you for watching Home Business TV.